I don't know if any of you saw the email where I titled today's talk, Quit the Blame Game. I love that. Wonder what she's going to say about this one, right? Oh, I was searching, because I love to search on YouTubes, and I found actually a title of a YouTube called Don't Blame the Genes Story. Don't blame the genes, your genes, not your jeans inside your pants, okay? Don't blame the gene story. And this guy was talking about how he was going out with a bunch of friends and they were going to this music fest and they were like all, thinking they're cool and they're out on the dance floor busting moves, right? And there was this part where you're supposed to bend down and get real low. What was that song we used to shout? Right? You get down real low. And he's like here, and he goes, I can't bend down because my jeans are too tight. And his friend says, hey, don't blame your jeans. Do you get it? It's not your jeans' fault you can't bend down. Maybe it's because you had a little too much turkey, right, that you can't bend down right now. I chose to wear something very loose today for a reason. It is so easy to make it feel like things out there that are occurring outside ourselves that we have no control over, right? It's so easy to make it feel like it's that reason that I can't. It feels like external forces, pressures, things out there that create obstacles, which they do, for sure. But at every level, we have a choice at how we deal with those things that are coming at us. That's a hard one to take at times, isn't it? Really is. I don't know. It is for me because I want to prove my case as to why it's their fault or why it's that circumstance. We're going to go into this a whole lot more. The truth is, it really is between you and you in the game of life. Really is between you and you. Or what else? It's so much easier to blame this or that, or the lack of this or that. And when I blame blank, name it, when I blame it, I'm actually giving my power away. Think about that. Whenever you blame the circumstance or the person, who are you giving the power to? Right. Whatever that is. You're giving your power away instead of looking at myself to figure it out and how can I clean up my side of the street? How can I clean up my side of the road? That's a little side piece of stay in your own lane, right? Cleaning up my side of the road. It actually empowers me when I stop giving all this energy to the things that I think aren't working. You've heard me talk just about our little house project, major house project, now going on year 3, and still not having that first floor bathroom shower, right? Now, I could look at that and just create hell in my life over a bathroom, right? But then I look at all the things that are done, and it has taught me so much. This building of a house has taught me so much about patience and focusing on really what's important. Really what's important. When I can actually do that, then I am putting energy into the things that move me forward in my life instead of staying stuck. Anybody been there? Yeah, me too, right? Here's a more silent way that, or maybe it's an overt way that we can do blame. Think about how often you should on people. Think about it. Well, she should. She should understand. She should realize how many people are suffering because of that. He should. They should. The bank should. Our politicians should. Oh my gosh, yes. We should on lots of things, right? Think about how often you should on yourself. That's a big one. And who are you putting the guilt on? Yourself. And how is that working for you, as Kathy would say quite often? How is that working for you? You know, this blame shifting on not wanting to take my part in this, but I want to shift it onto other people. It goes back to Genesis 3 when Eve said, well, Adam said, it's not my fault. She made me do it. And then God goes to Eve, and Eve said, it wasn't my fault. The serpent talked me into it. Shift, shift, shift. Let's go to that slide. Oh, this is so cute. Do you hear this? See this? This bad grade is lowering my self-esteem. And the teacher says, then you should work harder so you don't get bad grades. The little boy looks at it again. He says, your denial of my victimhood is lowering my self-esteem. Oh, boy, can you see that coming out of one of your kids' mouths? Let's go to the next one. So which generation are we blaming today? Oh, yeah. It's funny. My sister was in town for 5 days. Many of you have heard over the last 12 years of my journey with my sister and my relationship and being extremely, totally cut off and eventually coming back together. We spent 5 days in immense love. She and I held to no political, no religious discussion. And we got along great. And even when it started to slip in, all you had to do was divert it. All you had to do was divert it and say, oh my gosh, look outside. Right? And it would change. Well, anyway, but it was fun to see my sister and I, our parents have made their transition quite a few years ago, and being with my daughter, and my sister's kids came in from Florida. They're 47 and 50, and so it was fun to just listen to some conversations of my sister and I blaming our mother about whatever. We do this because this is what we saw our mother do. And then listening to our kids blaming us, which of course we didn't take that on because we didn't do anything wrong, right? It's because of our mother. That's why we raised them that way. Can you relate to this in your families? I mean, it's kind of what we do. You know, what is it? Flip Wilson said, what did he say? The devil made me do it, right? Oh, gosh. We blame fast food restaurants for making us fat. We blame churches for lack of our spiritual growth. We blame God. Oh, my God, why is this happening to me? Or maybe I'm the only one that does this. Okay, maybe. I am very aware most of the time when someone is shooting on me or others. I really pick up on that. Like when I'm doing a counseling session with someone, and they start with, well, they should have, they should have. And I'm like, stop, right? Time out. Okay. But what's becoming more aware in me is I'm becoming aware of how often I should on myself. I very seldom will use the word should in a sentence talking to you. You should have known that the microphone wasn't on, whatever, right? Don't hear that coming out of my mouth hardly ever. But boy, I do silently should on myself. Internal voices saying, you should have known better. Kathy, why'd you say it that way? You should have, right? What are we doing with that? We're picking up the whip and we are making our back bloody. Guilt, which does not move me forward in my life. It keeps me stuck. I'm literally making myself the victim when I do that. Oh, my daughter and son-in-law are here today. Maybe I should skip this part, but I'm not going to. I am notoriously known for running late to things. Anybody that knows me, and it's all 275's fault, right, Mike? Yep. I can't get the Loveland because there's always something on 275, blah, 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 that I say. I walk into a room late, and what's the first thing that comes out of my mouth? Oh, traffic. I got full of lists. I've been thinking about them for the last 5 minutes before I get out of the car. What I'm going to say when I get there so I can justify why I'm late. This has been my entire life, people. Right? Justifications, really, seriously. Right? It's all the things that I'm going to blame as to why I'm late and who did I just give my power to? I gave my power to all those things. I gave my power to 275. I gave my power to, because I had to take a phone call in the parking lot. I gave my call, I got a list of them. And I can reference them anytime I need to. So, I am learning to quit blaming. I'm still running late. A lot. But I've quit blaming. And when I quit blaming, I'm taking ownership of what I do create and how I create me always being late. I know what I do. See, I'm this type A personality, right? So I can do 3 more things before I leave the house. But if I left now, I'd be 5 minutes early. But who wants to be 5 minutes early when I can get 3 more things done before I leave the house, right? So I'm going to get more things done on my list. And then, of course, I'm late. I've buffered no time for traffic. It's a 30 to 35-minute drive to Loveland. I'm always seem to be late. Why? Because there's going to be traffic on 275. Duh. Do I buffer that in? No. But what I've learned is if I keep blaming these circumstances, then I'm going to, guess how I feel? I feel really crappy about myself when I walk into their house because I know that they're going to, I guess traffic was bad on 275, right? Or I'll walk into a meeting, Kathy's always late, right? And so how do I feel? How do I feel about myself? Horrible, right? So it's like, why do we set this up? Taking ownership, right? Yeah, let's go to that next slide. I love Dalai Lama. When you think everything is someone else's fault, you will suffer a lot. Not them. Shoot, they're going about their merry way at their house. The meeting started without me, right? Who's suffering? Me. You know, when you think it is all this crud that keeps happening that stops, I should say, when I think that it is all this crud that stops me, it keeps me from happening, it stops me from living my best life, I'll suffer a lot. Because I'm not living my best life because I'm too busy blaming all these circumstances. Can we go to the weekly affirmation? I want to do that right at this time. Okay? Can you see it there? I am a perfect child of God. Therefore, I cannot be a victim of what? Everybody's got something they can put in that blank line. I cannot be a victim of. Got something in mind? Be honest, because it's true, right? Let's say that. I am a perfect child of God. Therefore, I cannot be a victim of being late. That's my one. There we go. Okay. I am a perfect child of God. Therefore, I cannot be a victim of whatever it is, right? Yes. I cannot be a victim of my wife falling down and breaking her kneecap. Oh, what the heck am I talking about here? I'm jumping a little bit ahead here. Yes, I have permission to share this story of Alicia and Tony. Alicia and Tony, wife and wife, and Alicia has spent, how long are we, a year and a half with the cancer? 2.5 years where she's diagnosed with colon cancer, has multiple procedures and surgeries and going through the chemo. And did she go through radiation too? The chemo, horrible chemo, and all that process. Okay, Tony is dealing with foot problems that she's had for a long time, but she finally cannot take it any longer and has to have surgery. Her recovery time is 3-month recovery time. We didn't see her almost all summer because she couldn't walk. She was on Okay. Meanwhile, Alicia also is going through what I would call, and I don't know what you call it, but I would call it like chemo brain, right? The fogginess and all that comes with that. Okay, they also, one of their dogs transitioned. It was Alicia's dog of her life who transitioned. We go through just lots and lots of things. Now, oh my gosh, when did Alicia then went to Goodwill on their way home from Cleveland Medical, or who was? Ohio State for treatment and for her to have a diagnostics. Stop at Goodwill, right? And just because she likes to shop at Goodwill, but then there was this skateboard. And she thought she would just go down an aisle and think she's cute on the skateboard. She falls down. Now she's dealing with the cancer, okay? And she breaks. She shattered her ankle. Okay, yeah, we're not done yet. Okay, and there's more. And then now, Tony now has this surgery. She heals over with her ankle and her feet. And Alicia's healing with her ankle. And now you're having surgery on your knee, right? Oh, yes. When Tony went through her surgery for the fractured ankle, then Alicia falls and fractures her foot. Okay, now Tony goes in for surgery for her knee, and as they're coming home from surgery, outpatient, they decide they're going to grab something, carry out to eat and take home and eat. Alicia falls on the sidewalk, and she breaks her kneecap. Oh my God, why does this keep happening to me? Okay, now let's take that, okay? And it was so funny. Tony said, I cannot have any more surgeries because Alicia's right behind me going to have the same surgery again. Okay, many of you have heard Sandy Malloy a couple weeks ago when she and I did the talk. You heard about what she's been dealing with. And it just keeps happening, and it keeps happening, and keeps happening. Now, here's what I know, is that I have heard this many times. And some people will refer to it as, well, I don't know what kind of karmic debt you're trying to pay back. because all this is happening to you? Or what have you been doing in your consciousness that has brought all this trouble to you, right? People, that is metaphysical malpractice, okay? That is not the case of it. Oh, let's take law of attraction. Many of you are familiar with that. Abraham, right? Esther Hicks, bringing in Abraham, law of attraction. This is something important that I want you to hear. The law of attraction does not say we're responsible for the ills that befall us. It only says that we are responsible only for how we choose to experience what befalls us. That is important. I know many people who are steeped in New Thought teachings and will say lovingly, well, apparently whatever you've been holding in your consciousness has brought this cancer to you. Stop it. Stop that. That is not what it means. Stuff happens. Disease happens. We live in a world, and we have to, take responsibility for the stuff we put in our food, in our water, in our air. I mean, we have to take responsibility for that. But you cannot go around and don't tell me that Tony has done all this and deserves it. I know that was some of my background. Well, you must have done something. In the old days, in my little girl days, it was, well, you've done something to make God mad. Anybody get that one as a child? Right? Oh, gosh. Let's go to that next one. Whatever you hold in your mind on a consistent basis is exactly what you will experience in life. There's a slippery slope there, isn't there? Because that's kind of contradictory to what I'm just saying. But I'm going to tell you, whatever you hold in your mind about the experience. See, we hold the experience in our mind. We hold the situation in our mind, instead of let it be and acknowledge it. If you didn't get anything out of Sandy's talk 2 weeks ago, I hope that you got that it was to acknowledge that stuff happens and not let it paralyze you, and to keep moving forward with whatever it is that's being brought into they call it circumstance for a reason, because you stand in the middle of it, of that circumference. I want to read to you something I found out of our latest Unity magazine. And I want to just read a little bit of this here. It says, bad things happen and troubling conditions happen that we experience, and these are contrasts. They stand out because they appear opposite to what we value and believe. But opposites attract. Mass acts of terrorism, assault, are ideal, and communal security, right? We even heard where that guy ran into that crowd of the parade, right? And killed, I think, 5 or 6 people now. Is it up to 6? Right? It contradicts with our feeling of communal security. Being denied equal rights runs counter to our sense of belonging. Illness contrasts with our belief in innate wholeness and health. Love is the magnetizing power. Love is the magnetizing power. It exerts a continuous pull on contrasting values so that they can be resolved and harmonized. When I was reading this, and I could read a whole lot more, but I want to close here for today. And I was thinking about, what have we learned through COVID? What are we learning through COVID? Breaking news. There's the new variant. Breaking news. It's left Africa. Breaking news. It's now in the UK. Breaking news. How are you going to deal with those contrasts, Those are contrasts that are being brought to us to see how we're going to heal ourselves in the face of contrast. Because without contrast, we wouldn't have to do anything, would we? Think about it. Contrasts are what move us to either paralyze us or become better versions of ourselves. I have witnessed around here so many people becoming better versions of themselves through COVID than I have ever in my 30 years that I have been attending this church. It is the most spurts of spiritual and emotional growth that I have watched. I've also watched some that get paralyzed, but not very many. Not in the, what I would call the new thought realm, because we are taught about taking responsibility. There was a word, I love this. Responsibility, break that down. Responsibility. Responsibility is you have the ability to choose how you respond. And unity is all about making you as individuals responsible for your own life, for your happiness, your peace of mind, your contentment. It's all about you, isn't it? Doesn't matter what all is going on in the world. I'm going to end with that last one, I think. Yes. Recess is over when the blame game begins. Now, I want you to, I asked Surrey this morning, not Surrey, who is it? Alexa. Alexa, what does recess mean? Temporary withdrawal from work or a usual, typical activity. Recess is over when the blame game begins. So as soon as you step into blame, recess is over. And now you're off the playground. When you leave the playground of blame, and that's when you win. When you can leave the playground of the blame game. So I think if I were to say anything, ooh, this is coming to me right now. That's what changed with my sister and I. We quit blaming each other. We quit blaming the circumstances that originally happened 40 years, 50 years, 60 years in our life, 50, 40 years ago. We quit blaming each other. We didn't have to talk about it. We didn't have to cite who won and who lost in that one. Just quit blaming each other. And when we move to that, we have experienced a deep love for each other. And that's where I want to see you move in your life. Is to don't should on them, don't should on yourself. Let it be. Let it be. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Namaste. That Christ presence in me truly sees and honors that Christ presence in each and every single one of you. Namaste.